Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Banyan Gold, where we are going to be recapping all the drill results in more of a summary fashion from last year's 2024 a large drill program, 21,000 meters at the company's AurMac Gold Project in the Yukon. I'm chatting with Tara Christie, President and CEO of Banyan Gold. Company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol BYN and on the OTCQB under the symbol BYAGF. Now, Tara, as I mentioned, all the results have now been released from last year's drill program. And the main takeaway, something that you and I have even talked about as we were recapping some individual news releases, is this higher grade area or core area. Now we're seeing it on both the Powerline deposit and the Airstrip deposit, seeing some grades of over 1 gram per ton, even over 2 grams per ton, and some holes of well over 100 gram meters. So, Tara, let's just recap this program. It was very much resource definition. The company already has 7 million ounces in the inferred resources. You're going back in, tightening up some of these spacings, but now you've found these higher grade areas. Take us through the significance of that, please.
Well, you did a great job talking about it, Corey. Finding these higher grade zones and showing that there's continuity between the high grade. It's really important as we move towards our PEA. And, it's given us a lot more confidence in our geological model. But, some of these results, like 16 meters of 9.32 in the most recent news release, that is pretty exciting. Along with, that was from Airstrip, Powerline, 39.7 meters of 1.92. We're seeing that this high grade exists where we expect it to be. And it really showing, if you look at the heat maps, it's really the areas just really illuminated where we've got these high grade trends and where your starter pits would be. So that's really exciting for us. It means we achieved what we set out to do. When we started the year, we said we wanted to convert roughly 2 million ounces to indicated, where we could see some of the higher grade, not all of the areas, and where these starter pits would be. So, the team did a great job on designing this program, and I think it's achieved what we set out to do and shown that there's, this high grade core, but there's so much more that we can add at both Powerline and Airstrip.
So, looking at these heat maps and some of the recent news releases, can you give us a little bit more color on the approximate size of the higher grade areas and also the depth component, just how deep some of these higher grade results are coming from?
Well, that high grade intercept that I said, the 9 grams, that's just from 65 meters. A lot of this is really near surface. The 1.92 was from 72 meters. We know that mineralization here starts from surface, and in some of these areas, the higher grade does start right on surface. The total depth of the pit in the resource, and we've continued to stay approximately at that depth, was 200 meters. A next phase of work could be to push the bottom of the pit, because we're now going to have a very large, flat bottom pit, to push some of that higher grade down because it becomes your lower strip ratio. We didn't focus on that in this year's programs. It's something that, would be great for subsequent programs to add ounces and maybe show some more higher grade. This year, we really wanted to focus on that near surface higher grade and showing that continuity. So, pretty great results, because that's going to give us that low strip ratio combined with higher grade to go into our PEA, which is what really drives your IRR and your NPV ultimately, is really just the near surface material.
So that brings up, I think, the biggest catalyst coming up for the company being the updated resource and PEA. Take us through just how much is going into this updated resource and PEA. When can we expect all these things?
So we're planning the updated resource by Q2. We're taking our time now that we've got the results. That gets modeled, it goes off to the QP, and then you get your resource done. And there's usually some tweaking that needs to happen as you go into that. Meanwhile, we'll have the announcement of what our program is for this year. We'll start drilling because we're funded for drilling for this year. And then we're planning our resource, our PEA, by fourth quarter. It's our final obligation to earn 100% of the property. So we're excited about that. And we've been working really hard with the scoping study work that we've done previously to make sure that we've looked at all the options, done the met work to support it. There's still a little bit of met work ongoing that will contribute to that PEA. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year for us and a little bit different focus as we start to really show some economics of this project, which I think this project, people have previously thought it's low grade. I think we've debunked that with the results that we've shown. And ultimately, it'll be that first PEA that shows that this project's economics, which will be, pretty exciting. And any study, whether it's a resource or a PEA, when you haven't completely drilled out a project, is a stepping stone, a snapshot in time. We know from this project that there's a lot more we can add in terms of resources, and we think we can continue to tweak it. But we're really driven to do this PEA now, one, in this exciting gold market to show that, that this project and debunk that myth about this particular resource, but also to get that earn in so we can say we've got 100%.
So just to confirm, there any other work, obviously outside of drilling, that needs to be done to filter into that PEA that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Just some met work, and the met work on itself isn't hugely exciting. We've been, working in the background on the engineering. We did our scoping study work and then we did some more optimization work, and that helped us identify what met work and other work could help us improve the outcomes of the PEA. And then, really, we just need the updated resource to rerun some of those models. So, yeah, not a lot of met work news flow per se, but it's certainly what we've done is showed that this project has some great recoveries. You saw in the presentation 93% from the CIL gravity, 84 from the flotation, and we are looking at mill options because with such a large resource, the best recovery method is what you're going to use, and that gives you ultimately the largest recovery of gold. So we're pretty excited about that.
So in terms of future exploration plans for this year, I know we don't have the details on that, but if you could give us a little heads up, will it be still focusing on the high grade that you were hitting from last year's program? Are there new areas you would like to test? What generally do you think will be the overall strategy?
I'm leaning towards a strategy of showing that this has a lot of room to grow the resource. Particularly, we've seen on the airstrip and the deposit, which we haven't drilled on since 2021. Getting back there, there's lots of room there between airstrip and power line, off to the east of power line and even to the south of power line, and the rest of our property. We did a ZTEM survey on the property. Remember, we're an intrusion related deposit, but we're in the hornfells around it. So one of the Hollywood problems we have right now is we have lots of targets. So, yeah, there's lots we can do to focus on continuing to expand the high grade, converting more to indicated. We can add ounces. We can do some pure greenfield. And that's actually one of the most fun things to do with your team is to look at all of your exploration options. We're getting together in person next week to look at that and throw spaghetti on the wall. What are all the things we could do? And then as we refine that, we talk about, the odds of success of this and what do we see? You really refine your program to what your best and where you're going to get the most reward in the market. And then, we'll probably take our time on that, make sure we see what's coming out of the new resource update, make sure that we use all of that information. And we're not in a huge rush to announce that. So it'll probably be around April when we come out with what our program actually is, get drilling in May. We are gearing up and we've got our crews lined up. So we know we're going to be drilling, and, it's a Hollywood problem to have too many targets and have to refine it. But it also means that I think we're going to be able to generate some real value this year with what we do. And then we'll have that resource and results through the fall and into 2026.
Okay, so I'm sure the upcoming resource update will guide a lot of the conversion in terms of upgrading the ounces from inferred into higher confidence categories. But as you even said, you were focused on around 2 million, converting those ounces into indicated or M&I category. What does need to be the balance here between actually increasing the confidence in the ounces that are already defined, or simply focusing on those ones that would play into further economic studies even past a PEA?
The other factor there is the market conditions and what you're going to be rewarded for. We haven't seen the juniors. Some are starting to get some love in the market where that getting into that pre-development space would really be rewarded. So, we're ready to turn on the gas and move more to indicated and higher levels if the market's there for it and the support's for it. And I think we're starting to see some M&A and people being interested, corporates being interested in making investments in those types of things. It's a fairly big investment to convert quite a bit more to indicated or higher categories. So you want to make sure your timing's right on that as well. And we've got a few overhangs still. That last year, 2024 was tough in the Yukon. And so in addition to what the market is still, valuing juniors at, we've got a little bit of that. It's certainly starting to clear. And for us, we're getting a little traction in the market, but I'm cautious about rushing out to do a big drill program to convert more to indicated before we kind of get some recognition for what we already have. And we've got a strong treasury now, so that gives us options. So, we'll evaluate that as we see what kind of happens over the next month. And I think it's a pretty critical month. These are fabulous gold prices, all-time highs, particularly in Canadian dollars. And we're starting to see people go, maybe we should be investing in gold projects. And that, I think, you don't want to spend all your cash advancing a project because you think you need to get there quickly when it actually might be time to just let's get some valuation and get a benchmark with our PEA of where we're already at and still show that we've got room for this project to grow. So, judging your strategy in the market is something that every CEO wrestles with. And how do you really show your shareholders? How do you really get value for your shareholders? Well, it's a balance between moving a project forward, but not too fast that you're spending all your cash when it's not necessarily going to be appreciated.
Hey, absolutely. And you have some ability, some variability with that resource too to figure out what you're going to do with it already at that 7 million ounces. So a lot of news for us to touch on as we progress through the rest of this year, not even including the drilling, which we'll get some more information on. One thing to highlight is that you do have a lot of conferences coming up over the next really a month or two. Break down where you're going to be and where people can find you at some of these conferences.
So the closest one that's coming up is the BMO conference in Hollywood, Florida. It's an invitation-only conference. We're really fortunate to have been invited by BMO, who's been a longtime supporter of Banyan. So that'll be a great conference here at the end of February. And then that rolls into the PDAC in Toronto, which is also a great conference. And then in March, we have the SMI, which is in Zurich. So, touching base with some of our European shareholders is also really critical. And we're seeing more interest from Europe. I actually think we're starting to see more interest generally from retail, and even those in the mining space are I'm getting more calls and interests in meetings. We also have a new Invest Yukon event next week here in Vancouver. So I'm looking forward to that because I think it'll give us a little bit of a sense of the temperature. That's been, some of these have been a little glum. I've been to a couple luncheons and things in the last while. We're actually seeing a bit more excitement. People are, ready to deploy capital again. So we'll see how the temperature is. And I'm certainly looking forward to reconnecting both with our existing shareholders, new shareholders, and some of those generalists that I think are starting to come into the market.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of positive moves in terms of the gold price, which has remained strong, but also the gold stocks too. Money filtering into those. We'll see how it all plays out this year, but so far this year, very good start to the year for a lot of the precious metals equities. Tara, really appreciate this update. Again, Tara Christie, President and CEO of Banyan Gold. Click the link in the show notes to visit the Banyan Gold website and read over the recent news releases recapping all the drill results from last year's program. Send me any questions you have for Tara. Tara, thank you again for the update today.
Thanks, Corey. Have a great day.